A desire for more growing up, I was always told I had the gift of gab. The person in the room that wasn't afraid to speak their mind, good or bad. Whether I was out for attention, entertaining to have the eyes on me, there was one thing that was always certain. I talked. In fact, I talked a lot. My nickname in the family was Chatterbox. At a young age, it was a joke to see how long I could go without sharing my thoughts and ideas in exchange for a hefty amount of money, a whopping $5, but hey, back then, that was big bucks for an 8-year-old. Now I'm probably blowing this out of proportion because many of you reading this book, I'm sure, have had a similar experience, whether it was yourself or maybe even with your own kids. You see, at a young age, we are full of energy with so many unique ideas to share, we can't wait to tell someone about them. We haven't experienced this thing salespeople refer to most often as rejection. Well, as I grew older, my gift gab was still there, but I began to hold myself back a little from all the conditioning of being made fun of in my younger years. I grew up a fan of sports, dreaming to be a professional basketball player and of course wanting the money that goes with that type of a career. I wanted the cars, the house, the freedom. Unfortunately, as my ego continued to grow, my height didn't, and I decided to hang up my sneakers. I knew there had to be another way to make a healthy living without being physically gifted to become a top athlete. Of course, after graduating high school, I followed the typical career track society leads us to believe will be the first step to success, a top university. As I began exploring different career options, I realized pretty quickly that all the college advisors pointed toward the health industry for making great money, so I actually started school with the intention of becoming a doctor. Although I made a commitment to this path, there was one challenge. Growing up, I hated studying, and I soon learned to become a doctor you needed to study. Not just a few hours a week, but more like 5 to 7 hours a day. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed learning, but I didn't enjoy the grind to ace an exam, and after taking the general education classes, I realized I didn't like school. It was obvious I wouldn't enjoy being in school another 10 plus years. At this moment I felt my life was planned out. When I looked into the future after seeing the life of others before me, I was set to have an average American income of $50,000 to $70,000 a year in a typical 9-to-5 job that I hated going to day in and day out and would barely make ends meet. Living paycheck to paycheck. No freedom, no travel, and a strict budget. But there had to be another way to live a life financially free. I mean, I see all these people on social media and in the news making money at a young age with no degree, and not a single one of them is dressed in a white coat. How do I be like them? What are they doing? It was at that moment I realized business was my calling. As I began leaning in that direction, all the books I had read and the advice that I had received up to that point led me to start in sales. I mean, shoot, I wanted to be paid like a doctor without being one, and sales seemed to be the answer. Now I'd love to tell you that my first sales job I had some fancy business-to-business sales role with a strong base salary of 6 figures. Yeah, right. In fact, I learned sales in its purest form. Door to door. 100% commission. It was a grind. I had to find my own leads, and if I didn't make a sale, I didn't make any money. I worked for this company called Southwestern Advantage, and as I began selling educational books door to door, I quickly realized I had a knack for selling. In fact, after selling for a single summer, I made $45,000 profit. I realized I could sell and do it really well. Then I shifted to the insurance industry, and instead of selling door to door, I sold business to business. I cold called in person and over the phone. Again, this was a commission-based role, meaning I ate what I killed. The stress was high in this type of environment. You either learn to develop thick skin from the rejection or you simply quit. I've seen a lot of talented people in my years of sales, but they got exhausted from trying to find the next sale. I don't share this to scare you, but most people in sales can relate. Let me tell you, it made me really appreciate what I am about to share with you. After a long 5 years, I thought to myself, there had to be a more efficient way of selling. And that's when I discovered the industry of high-ticket sales. A friend recommended a career he didn't really know much about, because no one did. There was no title or industry, it was really a feeling of stepping into the jungle. The unknown, to be exact. I remember it like yesterday. Hey, man, I hear you want to leave the insurance industry. I know a guy who started a really neat company and offers a unique selling career. He said he is looking to hire a remote closer. You would be basically working from home. Remote closer. I mean, shoot, if I can work home, that would be a dream. I'd been out hustling all my life, knocking on doors, stepping into businesses one by one. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to work from home. Well, as you can guess, I applied, and after the interview process, I was offered the opportunity that unknowingly would change my life forever. As my first day came around, having no idea what I was getting myself into, I became amazed by the well-oiled machine shown to me. I was told I was a remote closer. All I needed to do was set my own hours by opening up my calendar to take anywhere from 5 to 8 appointments a day. And this when my mind was blown. On day 1, the owner shared with me, "Chad, all you need to do is call the warm appointments that appear on your calendar provided by the marketing team. No cold calling, no outreach, just enroll and close new business at the end of the sales call." I couldn't believe it. My job was to wake up and close already set appointments on my calendar that I didn't book or source on my own. On top of that, the leads were warm. They searched for our service and inquired about it. So I wasn't starting from ground zero anymore. It was a dream come true. I used to joke about how great it would be to have a list of appointments already set for myself each day, and all I had to do was collect payment at the end of the call. And it finally was happening. I could now see a shift. The future of sales as we know it, and I had a front row seat. The crazy part is that was just the beginning. I soon became the top closer in the entire company. I mastered the one-call close. I was regularly bringing in over $200,000 to $300,000 in sales revenue per month. For the money-hungry reading this book, that was making over $25,000 to $45,000 per month on average deposited into my bank account. My life changed in an instant. I now had money to pay off debt, invest in real estate, and travel the world. I felt unstoppable. I finally felt like I had the things in life I wanted: freedom, no debt, the ability to make unforgettable memories for my family, and I didn't have to spend years in school and 90-hour working weeks as a doctor to get there. I just had to learn one skill and master it. The industry of high-ticket sales changed my life. And it can change yours too. Whether you're looking for a chance to break into the industry or maybe you're a coach trying to bring in more revenue for your own business or side hustle, if you can master this one skill, you can make more money than people who spent years going to medical school, without all the debt, and don't forget you actually get to control your schedule. No longer are the days where you plan your life around your work. Now you can plan your work around your life. The opportunity in the industry of high-ticket sales: businesses sell high-value products or services for a premium. Without explaining every offer on the market, most offers you'll come across are selling some sort of education that can help level you or your business up. Fitness coaching, business coaching, leadership coaching, the list goes on and on. I mean, heck, there are even some companies that help people publish books, and they do it for a premium price of $20,000. And with all these offers on the table, business owners need one thing: remote high-ticket closers. Take a look at this example. It starts with a marketing funnel that captures leads through an ad and then sends the lead to a training or webinar, and after they see this training, prospects are asked to book a call. Client funnel for high-ticket sales: this is where you come in. Business owners need high-ticket closers to take that prospect through a sales conversation and inspire and motivate them to invest in themselves and purchase the offer at hand. And guess what? You don't have to find the leads, cold call, manage clients, or even figure out how to set up the system to put this in place. It's already done for you. You just need one skill, and you are now the most marketable asset to any single business. I know what you're thinking: too good to be true, right? This isn't some get-rich-quick scheme. I'm not asking you to join a multi-level marketing company or, better yet, create an online dropshipping store. I'm saying you just need to master one skill in a major growing industry. Global Market Insights stated the e-learning market just in North America alone for the year of 2021 was a $127 billion industry. Globally, though, it was $315 billion in the year 2021.1. That's right. I said billion with a B. Don't worry, we aren't done yet. The e-learning market is set to grow to $1 trillion globally by 2028 according to Global Insights. Point 2. The crazy part is that this type of learning has been around for years. Big names like Tony Robbins, Dale Carnegie, Zig Ziglar have really paved the way for all the business in the high-ticket sales industry. They would hold an in-person conference, then promote an offer that gave the audience the chance to purchase their training for thousands of dollars. The audience would be purchasing one-on-one coaching support and recorded video tutorials. With the internet today, everything is online and remote. Businesses are just selling these offers in a way where they can reach anyone with the click of a button. Here's how it goes. 1. Build an audience. 2. Create an offer and market that product. And 3. Employ a remote closer to fuel the business. It's that simple, and growth is exponential. What you will learn in this book, I'll walk you through the step-by-step milestones to not only becoming but mastering the art of a high-producing one call closer, making 1,000 each month on autopilot. Whether that's teaching you from ground zero or maybe you're already in the industry and you picked this book up to sharpen the saw, I promise the insights in this book will change the way you sell. After teaching you the foundational frameworks, I'll show you advanced techniques to really level up quickly to master the art of selling and most importantly help those looking to change careers to find their first or next opportunity. I wrote this book as not only a way to teach people high-ticket sales but as a reference. I tell my team to refer to specific chapters that they can always get better at, so go through this book, but keep it close because it has everything you need to succeed in all areas of high-ticket sales. What to expect: this book is a practical guide and an in-the-trenches guide on what has actually worked for me, but also thousands of others that are just like you that we have trained through a guaranteed system. As someone that wasn't born to sell and was actually fired from my first corporate sales job, and had to learn how to sell in a commission-only role, really where anyone can get hired, the reality is, if I can do it, so can you. Taking things from confusing to a step-by-step approach for you to understand and see fast results and guarantee consistent 5-figure commission checks. The content in this book is not just for aspiring salespeople. This also has huge value for coaches, business owners, and sales managers looking to import a system for themselves and their sales teams. My goal with this book is to be the only sales book you'll need to read to truly master the art of high-ticket sales so you too can reap the benefits and change your life. If you read this book, I promise you'll not only understand the industry of the high-ticket sales arena but you'll improve your sales skill set 10 times over. In fact, I'll make a bold promise that the content in this book will guarantee you to make 6 figures and more, but only if you're willing to put in the work. Just like you, I had a desire for more. I wanted to earn 6 figures, but not just 6, I wanted to get to the next level. But I realized in order to earn more, you need to learn more. That being said, you picking up this book already says a lot about your character and where you are going. You too have a desire to reach higher. Now it's time to learn the steps to be a master one call closer in high-ticket sales. For the people who want to go faster and further with their success, my hope is that this book is the first step in us working together. Book a call with me or my team, and we will put together a plan to help you move forward in your journey. 1. Preeti Wadhwani and Saloni Gankar, E-Learning Market Size by Technology, Online E-Learning, Learning Management System, LMS, Mobile E-Learning, Rapid E-Learning, Virtual Classroom, by Provider, Service, Content, by Application, Academic, K-12, Higher Education, Vocational Training, Corporate, SMBs, Large Enterprises, Government, COVID-19 Impact Analysis, Regional Outlook, Growth Potential, Competitive Market Share and Forecast, 2022 to 2028, Global Market Insights, April 2022, https://www.gminsights.com/industry-analysis/e-learning-market-size #text=industry%20 trends, will %20 drive %20 the %20 industry %20 growth. 2. Wadhwani and Gankar, E-Learning Market Size by Technology. Start with why. Happiness comes from what we do. Fulfillment comes from why we do it. Simon Sinek. Before you take a sales call, before you even think about asking for a credit card, you need to get clear on one thing. Why? Why do you want to change your career? Why is success important to you? It's a simple question of, why do you want what you really want? You see, this is the fuel to the fire. Most often, people mistakenly search for meaning long after they decide to go in a certain direction. Then they are left with a feeling of emptiness. I finally made 6 figures. But I can't help but feel as if something is missing. It's simple to avoid this. Why do you want what you really, really want? If we can't determine the answer to this simple question, I promise many of you will burn out in the next 6 months. I can't let you take this lightly because this is the difference between the ones who make it and the ones who don't. Sales can be the most rewarding career, but it can also be the most detrimental if approached the wrong way, so listen carefully. When I ask my clients, "What is your why?" I tend to get a mix of answers. Most tend to be leaning toward the aspect of, "I want to make more money." Now don't get me wrong here, money is great. In fact, you should be in a career to make money, but what I am saying is that if that is the only focus, eventually it will fade. So when I get that answer, I ask another question that you may need to ask yourself. Why do you want more money? And then there tends to be a moment of silence, and I wait. And maybe I get a response like, "Well, Chad, I want more money so I can finally pay off my debt." My response, "Okay, I understand you want more money to pay off your bills, but I have another question. Why do you want to pay off your bills?" I know this sounds like the 6-year-old who asks why to their parents nonstop, but stay with me here. Well, Chad, I want to pay off my bills because I'm constantly stressed about money, and all I wish for myself is to live a life where I can afford to travel the world. Why do you want to travel the world? Chad, we only live one life, and when I was a kid, my grandfather always talked about our family in Europe and how much he wanted to visit the homeland and see them interested. Again. Not a single person bought a thing all day, but somehow at the end of the day, I always found a way and ended up making a sale. No matter the circumstance, things seem to always turn out for the better. What I am about to share with you is the simplest concept we all can learn from. Not just in a sales aspect, but in life. If you take this principle to heart, the sky's the limit for your potential in sales. Principle 1. Control the controllables. As soon as you tell someone who has never actually been successful in sales that you're going into sales, the first thing they will say is, "Good luck with that." Sounds encouraging, huh? I'll never forget telling my former best friend in college that I wasn't going to be in Michigan for the entire summer because I was going to knock on doors selling education books to families in Minnesota. His response was demotivating and extremely unsupportive. "You're going to be a door-to-door salesperson with no money guarantee and on top of that leave for the entire summer? The only break you get from college and you want to go sell books door-to-door? Are you okay?" When he asked me this, I began to question my decision, wondering if this really was the right move for me. Sadly, this was the beginning of the end of our friendship. I think he had this vision that we were going to spend time all summer wakeboarding on the lake, hiking the trails of western Michigan, and chasing girls together. He took it personal, as if I chose selling books door-to-door over our friendship. Obviously, that wasn't the case, but I was ready for a challenge. I'd never done anything like this before, and I was ready to prove to my friends, and even myself, I could do this. The first lesson I learned when I began my sales training was a concept called controlling the controllables. I had no idea what this meant, and you might not either, but it boiled down to two things: attitude and effort. I was told attitude and effort are the only things in life we can control. We can't control what happens to us, what people say to us or about us, and most importantly, in a sales world, we can't control who buys our product. I took this concept to heart, as I hope you do too. Now we all know people who always seem to have something wrong happening in their lives. Every challenge or bit of adversity they face becomes a first-world problem in their eyes. They complain over and over again about every little thing. They believe they are the victim of life. It's almost as if these people have a cloud hanging over their heads 24/7. They want us to accept the excuses of why their life is in the place it is. The reality is those people are focusing on the things they can't control. As soon as you open your mind and begin to focus on things like the state of the world, the fact that your boss was a jerk this morning, Starbucks got your order wrong, or maybe how your kid got in trouble at school, you've already lost. Now you might say you have some control over some of that, but not really. Maybe with your kid you have influence, but that's not control. Because regardless, your kid is going to do whatever they want at the end of the day. The simple answer to every problem and frustration to help you align your thoughts is to ask yourself, based on what just happened, do I have any control over that situation? Most likely, that answer is no. As a salesperson, you will be rejected. A lot. It's part of it. I knocked on over 3,200 doors a summer and finished a summer with only 300 clients. Most people think that when I tell them I made $50,000 going door to door in 12 weeks, there had to be some magic element that forced every person I encountered to buy from me. Wrong. I worked my ass off. 13-hour days knocking with a goal to find the next best prospect with a lot of no's in between. I find most people often get caught up in the result of any success, and they never ask, what did it take? I didn't allow the "get off my property" or "I don't buy from people door to door" comments to affect my mental state. If there is one thing that is certain in sales, it's that you can control your attitude no matter the circumstance. This is crucial, because the process of sales is really a transfer of emotion. Imagine if I approached houses with the thought of, today has been shit, no one wants anything, I can't wait until this day is over. With that type of mentality, of course I'm going to have a bad day. Things happen twice in your life. Once in your mind and once in reality. This is the difference between a consistently top-producing salesperson and someone average or with roller coaster type sales numbers. They have mastered the mindset. No matter what, we need to apply positive self-talk to our daily routine. Find something that works for you. For me, when I am selling, I say things like, working hard all day, success is just doing my best. Or before jumping on a call, I might check myself and say something like, man, what a great day to be able to impact lives. I'm going to speak to some really awesome people today. And the reality is sometimes I don't feel that way, but I say it anyway. In fact, some days once I've said it enough, I begin to believe it. Positive self-talk is easy when things are going well, but when it matters is when things are tough, when the world seems to be against you. You need to be your own coach and recognize when these moments arise. Tell yourself what you need to hear in the moments when you feel you are having the most frustration. I'll be the first person to tell you it's not easy, but that part of developing the mental muscle that breaks through any and all challenges is crucial. Bring a consistent positive energy to a sales call, and you'll be surprised how quickly your sales numbers rise. Second, you have to be willing to put in the effort to obtain success. Anything in life worth having doesn't come easy. I am a firm believer that if you put in the time and effort, you will create your own luck. Be persistent in your pursuit to find the needle in the haystack. Baseball is a great analogy for sales. People are so amazed by the top players that we refer to them as home runs kings. If you're not a baseball fan, the home run king is the all-time leading professional baseball player who has hit the most home runs during their career out of any player to ever play the game. An amazing accomplishment to say the least. If you can be seen as the best of the best, you are seen as a king in the sports world. At the top of the list is a famous player named Barry Bonds. He is the all-time home run leader in Major League Baseball history. Hitting a total of 762 home runs in his career beats any other player to ever play the game. This is a big deal. He literally has hit the most baseballs out of any baseball park despite who was pitching the ball to him/the team he was up against. Someone who never watches baseball would think he must have hit the ball every single time it was pitched, or at least more often than normal, to be able to achieve the type of success and now status as the home run king. What if I told you that Barry Bonds, although he is the leader in most home runs in the history of the game, his batting average was only 29%. Meaning he only hit 29% of the balls thrown at him in his entire career. Let's review the math together. He attempted 9,847 swings and only hit the ball 2,935 times during his career. When I see those numbers, to me that is sales to a T. The crazy part is as soon as he stops swinging the bat, he loses momentum and has no chance of hitting more home runs. So in sales we have to have a mentality of the more chances I take, the more effort I put in, the better chance at achieving the result I am set to chase after. So the idea here is we as salespeople need to have conviction in what we are selling that is so deep to the core of our being if we truly want to influence and make more sales. It's no surprise when someone speaks with a pastor about their religion that the chances of them converting or growing their conviction is more likely. So to increase belief, the best thing you can do starting out, or maybe to regain your belief, is going to be seeing or hearing consistent testimonials of your clients that have had life-changing experiences. The best thing a business can do at the start of a sales meeting is share client wins to raise the team's morale and conviction in what they are selling. Principle 3, schedule is your lifeline. Have you ever heard the saying, anything you are is everything you are? Now I know it may seem a bit harsh and opinionated, but I think it has some merit that all of us could learn from. In the world of high-ticket selling, the reality is as soon as you stop pitching, the sales stop coming. In fact, this is true in any sales job. Heck, if we really wanted to say it works in every aspect of our lives, I'm sure we could make an argument that as soon as you get off task or lose focus, the time it takes to achieve that goal increases significantly. That's why it's so important to understand that in order to be successful in selling, you have to understand the concept that your schedule is indeed the lifeline to your success. As a sales development rep, SDR, this couldn't be more true. We will discuss the exact principles needed to be successful as an SDR later in the book, but for now know that they tend to do the most cold calling and scheduling of appointments for closers. Most SDRs are paid only when a set appointment closes. So as soon as an SDR stops making calls, what happens? Their production drops. Similar to a sales rep. As soon as you stop taking closing calls, your production stops. Your potential at obtaining more customers halts. In sales, days can feel long and things can get stale quickly. Although the money is amazing, eventually there will be a time where you feel tired. The exhaustion from the rejection and the swings at bat per SE. Because of this, I created a tool that can help both SDRs and closers see their days in chunks rather than focusing on the entire day or week at large. The ultimate goal card, simply put, this is a card that breaks your day up every 2 hours. The point of this card is to allow you to focus on time periods. That way, you can see each time period as a refresher so you can stay focused and on schedule the entire day. During the day, you will have periods of success where maybe you close a sale, or maybe you have periods where you don't make any sales at all. Rather than letting a period with no sales at all bleed into your entire day, reset at the next 2-hour goal period. Set new goals for the next 2 hours and forget about what happened before, good or bad. Using this goal card will help you focus on the right activities of working hard and help maintain a positive attitude throughout the day. Calendar management. Nothing is more depressing than getting ready to call an appointment and realizing that in the calendar, the prospect has indeed canceled the sales appointment. It's easily one of the biggest time wasters of your day now that you have 60 minutes until your next sales call. To avoid this, I teach a method called the End-of-Day Standard Operating Procedure, EODSOP. When I was selling and achieved $30,000 to $50,000 months consistently, I had a religious routine for calendar management. By implementing the EODSOP, I started to see myself get more opportunities faster than the other reps on the team, instead of missed opportunities and time wasted without an opportunity to sell. Like we spoke of earlier, effort trumps skill. The more swings at bat, the more sales you'll close. Calendar management allows for this to work in your favor. Here is how it works. At the end of each day, I always took the time to look at every single appointment on my calendar for the next day, and my goal was to see if there were any appointments, 1, already canceled, 2, with a red flag signifying they didn't have the money. This is typically based on how they answer specific questions to book a sales call, or 3, had incorrect emails or phone numbers in place. When appointments show up on your calendar, that hour slot is now blocked, so what I would do when I came across any of these 3 things above, I would mark the appointment free so I could get another crack at the bat with a better prospect. This can be extremely helpful to really ramp up your sales but can also be detrimental if you abuse it. Before you know it, you will start marking appointments free on your calendar for specific occupations you think don't make enough money to afford your product. I used to assume teachers didn't have extra money. Don't do this. Make sure you only open slots for canceled appointments and appointments that are clearly not a good chance for you to close, like if someone answers occupation with high school student, unemployed, etc. In order to scale anything, you have to be more efficient, and this can be a first step to doing so. The last thing, if you do have a 60-minute slot that is now open, use your time wisely and call ahead to the next appointment and try and move them up to speak earlier on your schedule. This not only gets you on a sales call during what could have been a wasted hour, but it also frees up a slot later in the day, which now has potential for rebooking another appointment by your marketing team. Efficiency. Be more efficient, make more sales. Selling the way people want to buy. Sales is a science, not an art. Our society tends to think when someone accomplishes something great or becomes a top professional in their career, that individual must have been born that way. That a top performer had it easy and they were wired to be good at what they do. We often overlook the time and dedication for someone to truly master their craft. We never ask about the rejection or the number of failures they had to become someone of incredible influence. Or more importantly, the mentors they learned from to show them the way of success in their respected careers. We forget that there are so many parts to the game, that we can look at sales, and really anything, as a science if you're willing to follow the advice of those successors before you. What I am about to share with you will truly change the way you sell, and for those reading this book as a seasoned sales professional, this will uplevel your game. Your job is, yes, to sell a product, but my question for you is, have you ever thought about selling a product in a way that someone wants to buy? Let me be a little more clear. Thought to yourself. As a beginner in sales, you need to realize it didn't feel right for the prospect. They want to buy from someone they trust. Someone they sense a level of familiarity with. Remember, people buy from people they like, and most people like themselves, so of course they will like someone just like them. Bring the energy, show up, and you will close more entertainers. Simple as that. The detective, I want to think about it and compare all the options out there. The worst objection and the most common one we hear, and this is one you'll likely get from a detective if you don't sell how they like to buy. Probably one of my favorite buying types, the detective. They make decisions once they have seen all the data. We can identify this buyer type in a few ways. First, they speak low and fast. This is usually a quick giveaway at first, but if this isn't clear, then as your conversation goes on, you will be able to realize they are motivated to be right, but not for the recognition. They enjoy thinking through a process and making a decision with the odds in their favor. Take buying a car, for instance. Some people buy a car simply because it's fast, or maybe it has more room for the entire family. Well, as a detective, if their goal is to purchase a minivan for the family to have the extra space, the detective wants to see every detail the car has before he makes the decision to purchase or to walk away from the car. In order to decide, they need to see all the details in front of them. With the desire to not make a mistake, confidence rises when all the data is in front of them. So in regard to high-ticket sales, if you haven't realized you are talking to a detective, you could just touch on the overall benefits of your offer but not dive enough into the details to give the detective the confidence they have seen every nook and cranny of your offer. Some buyers, like the fighter, just want to know why they need your product and what it does, but a detective needs to know the how behind the why and the what. The counselor, last but not least of the buyer types, we have the counselor. Very different in regard to each of the types shared, the counselor is the type of buyer with different motives. They are a strong team player, they are extremely motivated to help other people. This is obvious because we usually can see this person putting others before themselves. Their speaking style is low and slow, as they are more relaxed in this process. If you're speaking with this person, it's important to know that they need to know how your offer can impact others. Maybe your selling point is that you really need them to understand that if they purchase your offer, it will create a better family life for them, ultimately equaling more freedom and stronger relationships with their spouse or others. Or simply, it's helping them believe there is a deeper purpose behind them going after their goals. One of the first high-ticket offers I sold was a publishing package. We helped authors get their books out there to grow their brand and their businesses. When I spoke with a counselor, it was a lot easier to sell by putting the focus on how their book was going to impact thousands of lives once it was published. This gave them meaning and purpose, ultimately leading them to a place of confidence knowing that they were making the right decision because their book was helping others. The faster you identify these styles, the sooner you will begin to see results from your efforts. Now that you understand the different types of buyers you will face throughout your journey of closing sales, it's important to start trying to pick these folks out within the first 5 minutes of a conversation. This will allow you to switch your style and adapt to the way each of these types want to buy. People buy from those they like. So it's important to show a sense of familiarity as you adapt to different selling styles. Being able to effectively do this will increase closing, allow stronger demonstrations of your product, but most importantly give you the closer confidence and sense of being in control of the call. I can promise you top closers identify patterns of buying styles and sell in a way that leads to cash collected. Create a winning conversation structure. Your job is not to push and sell the prospect, your job is to ask the right questions for the prospect to sell you on why they need your offer. It's time for us to go over one of the most important tips to being an effective salesperson. Many of you reading this book have been waiting for this part, especially if you're trying to increase your close rate. Now most of us are familiar with the idea of using a sales script as a tool to help you sell your products better and with more confidence. In every single sales job I've had, day one I was told to review and memorize the sales script before I took my first sales call. When I sold door to door, I had a script that told me exactly what to say when I knocked on a door, to what to say when I demonstrated my product, and most importantly what to say when I was in the closing steps. Don't get me wrong here. Scripts are great, but they are ineffective because they teach new salespeople how to be unauthentic. When you're brand new, you end up reading a script word for word, and ultimately you sound like a robot during your sales call. So I came up with a revolutionary idea to change the way these calls should be approached. Instead of a sales script, I'd like to call it a conversation structure. You see, sales should be natural. The best salespeople I know don't even sound like they are selling at all. They sound like they are having a conversation with an old friend. As if there was no transaction at the end of the call. This is where you want to be. This is why we call it a conversation structure rather than the outdated name, a sales script. So instead of me telling you exactly what you need to say word for word, I'm going to teach you how to have an authentic sales conversation and truly understand how you should be navigating a sales call. The sales conversation structure: introduction and building rapport easily. This is one of the most underrated parts of the sales conversation structure. This part of the call sets the tone. In the introduction, you have two goals: 1, be likable, and 2, be in control. During the introduction, it's important that we build a little rapport with our prospect. Rapport building means to gain someone's trust. You see, people buy from people they like. Psychological sense studies show that it takes less than 30 seconds for someone to determine whether they like you and want to do business with you. Point 4. So it's in your best interest as a salesperson to make sure you are likable. For instance, if you're having a bad day and you answer the phone as if you just woke up from a nap, meaning low energy, most likely you have already lost the sale. As a salesperson, you need to show up. If the person on the other end doesn't like you, they won't buy what you are selling. But it's not just about energy. Asking questions is key here. More importantly, asking genuine questions is the most important. People love to talk about themselves. In fact, most people love to talk about themselves so much that they forget to ask other people about their lives. So as a salesperson, we need to use this to our advantage. Make small talk, but the key here is to be the person asking the questions. How is your day so far? How did you find our company? Just curious, where are you from? Let those openers break the ice, but also make sure to let the conversation flow naturally. Frame questions needs to be strategic and in your favor. But don't be afraid to dig deep here as well. A key thing I am going to address is a tie-down. These are great ways to solidify a response that sticks in the prospect's mind. Let's use the example above again. I ask, what has held you back from staying on task to do this yourself? The prospect answers, lack of accountability. I think I need a coach. Well, to do a proper tie-down, instead of moving on and thinking to yourself, great, they need a coach, ask a tie-down question: why do you think you need a coach? Make your prospect build and put a little effort into their answers so they are meaningful to them. In sales, a prospect believes 50% of what you say as a salesperson but believes 100% of what they say themselves. So if we can be conscious enough to ask the right question for our prospects to sell themselves on why they need your offer, you'll start closing more deals. Most importantly, your prospect won't feel they're being sold at all. They will have made the decision to do this all on their own. That right there is influence. Remember, you're not a product pusher, but a problem solver. Your job is to help someone help themselves. We don't force people to buy. We help people make decisions that can further their goals. You see why this is the most important part. Dig deep. People buy because they know you care. As we begin to talk about the next phase of this process, explaining the details of your offer, it's important to know people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So show up, listen, and ask meaningful questions to help the prospect tell you why they need your product. Offer demonstration so you made it. Now you get to talk about what you can do to help the problem, but really focus on how your offer is going to help achieve the prospect's goals. Of course, every offer is different, so it's important to make sure you touch on the most important aspects of the offer you are selling. No over-explaining every little detail. When explaining a high-ticket offer, it's best to do this in threes. What do I mean by that? In order to make sure your presentation is memorable, follow the rule of 3. Mandel did a communication study that shows people understand stuff better when it's grouped in a list of 3 because our brains are wired to look for patterns. So when presented with options or a product with 3 sets, it feels complete and whole in our minds. Point 5. Anything outside of that becomes overwhelming. Rule number 1 of explaining a product or offer is knowing that a confused buyer never buys. So if you over-explain and give way too many details, your prospect most likely is going to say, I need to think about it. The famous objection sales reps hear about 95% of the time. Remember what I said earlier though. The sale isn't made in the offer demonstration but in the discovery phase, so there isn't a reason to oversell here. If you handled the discovery correctly, delivering your offer should be easy and seamless. The prospect already feels heard, and they trust you. If you can deliver here to validate everything you spoke about, you've closed the sale no problem. So back to the famous selling in threes. Figure out the top 3 things in your program everyone must know. I'll give you a hint because most coaching offers have these things. If someone buys a program or offer, it typically entails 1. Coaching, 2. Online course support, or 3. Online community. Those are 3 powerful things to focus on when explaining an offer. If you get bogged down by the details of what each of those entails when explaining to a client, it may be too much to handle. Now, to give a stellar demonstration, it's important to tailor your demo to the needs and goals of the prospect. If they talked about needing accountability, I'm going to make sure I talk about how the coaching helps keep them on track so they can get to the finish line. Or maybe their challenge was having a system to follow, and they feel lost and don't know what to do next. Well then, if I was tailoring my demo, I would want to make sure to expand on how the online course is a step-by-step approach to helping them make progress, knowing there is a plan in place to the finish line. The discovery is so important because if you don't listen, you can't deliver a stellar demo tailored to the prospect's needs. Once you have delivered each process, it's important to now continue the momentum with a question I like to call the choice of 2 positives. The entire idea behind this is to ask a question in favor of what your program offers. For example, a great question to ask as a follow-up after explaining your product may be, I know most people I speak with like the idea of having a coach, others like that there is a step-by-step course showing them from start to finish how to go about the process. What stands out to you? If you didn't catch it, I planted a seed of 2 options that I want the prospect to choose between when it comes to what they like. Coaching or course support. You'll find when you give people 2 examples, most of the time they will pick one of those 2 options. When reviewing sales calls, I constantly hear reps ask, so what do you like about the program? That's it. Seems like a great question, but the reality is that it gives the prospect an opportunity to now say something they don't like. And then all momentum will be lost, and you'll catch yourself backpedaling. It's important in sales to keep momentum and energy high going into the close. I want my prospect to tell me what they like about it and why they like it. Use the tie-down example to always dig deeper on responses. The best feeling as a salesperson is knowing the prospect likes you, needs your product, and tells you why they need and of course what they like about it. This, my friend, is a recipe for success and a closed sale at the end of the call. Set yourself up for success by doing these things and you'll be to the finish line in no time. If you need help expanding your pitch and creating a sales conversation structure for your offer, go to chataleo.com/freestuff and download the product demo framework to import your offer so you can deliver it seamlessly. The close now closing isn't about forcing someone to buy. Most people think sales is pushing people into buying something they don't want. Wrong. Closing is about giving your prospect the confidence to take the next step in working with you. You see, if you do everything up to this point correctly, you will be amazed at how easy closing and objection handling will be. Because the momentum is on your side. The prospect needs to feel they like you, need you, and next thing you know, they will be handing you their credit card. But when closing, we need to have a mentality that it's not a hard sell but rather a hard sell. It's in your prospect's best interest if you truly believe that your product or service can help them. If you don't take this to heart, you won't be a top closer. The key here is that people want to know you care about helping them, not just collecting another commission once they buy from you. The reality is commission breath is a real thing, what a salesperson gets if they are selling too hard and not caring about the prospect, so it's important to make sure you are actively listening and figure out how you can help instead of how you can close this deal. So focus on closing for the sake of helping. The best framework I've ever seen while closing a prospect is the 2-step system. Step 1, price build-up. Step 2, close sales is not only a transfer of emotion, but there is a logic in which someone will feel more confident to purchase your product. One of the best ways to instill logic in a prospect is through a tool called the price build-up. Goals and needs of the prospect to tailor his pitch. I wasn't too worried, but what I was excited to hear was a live case study of him trying to close a sale. I often ask my clients to find a sales call that they felt they should have closed. When I finally reviewed that call from him, it was clear where his challenges were. He had confidence throughout the entire call until it was time to close, ask for the sale. In fact, it was so bad that as soon as the prospect asked a question, his entire demeanor changed. When he answered the questions asked by the prospect, you could sense his confidence became low, which resulted in the prospect's confidence becoming low, and at the end of the call, it wasn't a surprise to hear the prospect say, "This sounds really great, but I need to think about it." The reality is, your confidence as a closer is the prospect's confidence. If you break certainty, well, so will they. To be a top closer, focus on being so certain in your offer that nothing can change your mind that your product or service is the best on the market. Honestly, it's hard to argue with someone when they have an undeniable belief in their product. Getting to a place where you know every detail to a T and reading successful testimonials can be a huge help going forward to developing this type of mindset. Getting to this state will allow you to become a great closer. It truly sets the top performers apart from the bottom feeders. More confidence equals more sales. It's that simple. The momentum building closing isn't just a tactic. Know that for a prospect, sales is 100% a transfer of emotion, so realize that if you can maintain a high level of excitement by asking the right questions, you will naturally go into the close, allowing your prospect to have no other choice but to want to purchase your offer and have a high level of excitement behind their decision. But how can you do that? Well, I am going to lay out a series of questions you can use right now as you begin to move into the closing phase of the conversation structure. Momentum is the key in so many aspects. Think of a train. When a train is at top speed, it's extremely hard to stop, and it's able to pull an extremely large amount of weight. On the flip side, as soon as the train stops, it takes so much energy to get the train up and moving again to top speed because of all the weight it's pulling behind it. In the close, you want to keep the train moving, not stop the pace. As soon as you stop the train, you'll be getting back-to-back objections, and you won't be able to close the sale. I've seen too many people explain their products and then simply lose momentum because they don't know how to ask the right questions to where people are basically asking them to buy their products. This is easier than you think, just follow this process and you'll be able to see results. The first thing to explain before I go into the exact process is understanding the psychology of neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. Developed by Richard Brandler and John Grinder, this process is the belief that you can influence the outcome of people's decisions based on understanding the patterns of how the minds and behaviors of humans work. Now, I'm not going to give you a lesson on NLP because there is so much to learn, but there is an element used in the close that can help your clients say yes at the end of a sales call. The psychology behind this is that if someone has said yes multiple times throughout the sales call and into the close, they are more likely to say yes when you ask for the sales and collect cash. It sounds crazy, I know, but understanding how NLP can work in your favor as a salesperson is truly a superpower. The first thing you have to do is ask the right questions to elicit a yes response. For example, "Susie, can't you see why everyone has been excited to work with us?" Her response, "Yes." The more you can get someone to respond with a yes, the more comfortable they will feel saying yes at the end of a call. If you want to see this on a totally different level, attend a Tony Robbins conference and you will notice that he is constantly getting the crowd to say the word yes the entire weekend. This is so his pitch at the end has more weight to it when they finally ask you to enroll in their coaching programs. The steps I like to take here are, first and foremost, once I have gone over the price of the program, I like to ask the prospect what they liked best about it. But I don't leave it open-ended. If you leave it open-ended, it gives the prospect an opportunity to say something they don't like about the program. So first thing to do in a momentum building close is to ask a choice of two positives question, like we discussed in Chapter 4. For example, "Susie, most people like the fact that they get a one-on-one coach, others like the fact they get to follow an online step-by-step course. What do you like best about the program? Do you see what I did there?" I laid out two positive answers for the prospect to choose from. This kind of questions allows me to get a positive response back about what they liked about the program. 95% of the time your prospect will say one of the two things you list to start. We need to keep energy high here and make sure people are thinking positively about the offer. Next, once you have asked the choice of two positives, the next part of the process is to then ask a tie-down. A tie-down is to solidify the response of what they liked best about the offer. For example, if they responded, "Chad, I loved the coaching." Instead of moving on and saying something like, "Great, it's super helpful," or some BS like that, let's actually take the time to ask why they like the coaching so much, or ask why the coaching program stands out to them. This allows them to tell you exactly why they like your product, but instead of hearing from you as the rep about why it's so great, it's important for them to tell themselves. We talked about this earlier in the book, but people believe 50% of what a salesperson says and 100% of what they say, so make sure to get them talking about the product in a positive way. So once we complete the tie down, the next step is to then validate that they would be a great fit for the offer you are selling. Everyone needs validation to make a leap of faith to go after their goals, so tell them, "Gosh, Susie, I think you would be a great fit for our program, no doubt." Once validated, next it's best to make sure you eliminate all objections. Southwest, the process to close can be smooth. I like to ask if there are any questions here about the offer we spoke about. Once they bring up all their questions and you get those cleared, the next step is to roll into the yes train. And it goes like this: you have two options. Assumptive close: Susie, based on everything we discussed, do you feel confident that we can help you finish your book? Yes, of course. And based on the fact that you want to reach a bestseller status, do you believe we can help you with that? Yes, I do. You've waited too long to get this book done. Do you feel now is the time to get started? Yes, I do, it's been too long. Salespeople will result in accepting a follow-up. Which honestly, the call was going so well, the chances of her buying tomorrow could be likely, but I decided this wasn't about closing the deal. It was about helping Kathy realize her potential. You see, earlier in the call, Kathy was saying things like, "I waited too long to chase this dream. Now is the time. If I don't do this now, when else would I do it?" She was passionate about going after her goals, so I knew if I let her off the hook, she might not actually ever do this. There is a statistic in sales that says less than 20% of sales close after the first call. In my mind, I couldn't let Kathy delay her dream any longer, so I embraced the concept of believing the transformation was in the transaction, and I repeated that this would be the best decision she would ever make. So my response was, "Kathy, I truly understand how you feel, but gosh, earlier in the call you referred to wanting to do this for years. You started, stopped, and made no progress up until this point. Now if I let you off the hook, who knows if you'll ever do this, but I need you to know one thing, and that is you are capable of being successful." Just saying that last phase, "you are capable," was all she needed. Validation is one of the things that is never talked about enough. You see, Kathy had this big goal her entire life. Now she is in her late 40s, and all those years she had heard the negatives. Authors don't make money. Why would you write a book to build a brand? Sounds like a waste of time. I needed to be that strong foundation for her. I needed to validate that she had what it took to really go after her goals. People love people who stretch them beyond what they thought was possible. Heck, life would be pretty boring and uneventful without some sort of risk involved. And the sad part is sometimes it's not even about the money or the cost of spending $12,000. For Kathy, it was fear of failure. Money is a renewable resource. You can always make more of it. Having more belief in your prospects than they have in themselves is the secret sauce. Your confidence is their confidence. After we collected cash and she decided to take the next steps, she said something that I always remind myself of when answering objections. She said, "Chad, I just want to thank you. Thank you for not letting me succumb to my fears that I have been holding onto so tightly for that last 20 years. I had this goal to become an author, and today I finally took the first step forward. I want to thank you for your service in helping me move forward." Wow. It was in that moment that it wasn't about making money anymore. It was about serving and supporting to help people make the best decision they can for themselves. Truth behind all objections: after building so much momentum, it can be extremely deflating to get stopped by a single, "I need to think about it," or "I don't know if I can afford this," or "I just need to talk to my spouse," or maybe even, "Just give me a few days." We have heard them all. We live in a procrastination. People love to procrastinate, and they enjoy nothing better than putting things off until tomorrow. It's painful confronting ourselves to understand what really is holding us back. In high-ticket sales, your prospect is struggling with one thing, and that is fear. Fear. All objections lead back to this one thing that cripples so many of us. The fear of spending money. The fear of wasting their time. The fear of wondering what their spouse will think. The fear of failure. Welcome to the rat race, my friends. A place where dreams go to die. Find yourself in this trap, and you'll never step outside your comfort zone. The sad part is your prospect doesn't know this, so to combat all objections, we need to make sure we are using confidence-building questions through our call. We went over this earlier, but here are a few questions to help people over the fear of saying yes. Why is now the best time for you to get started? What are your goals? What do you want to achieve? Why is that so important to you to accomplish that? Why do you want more? You sound all in on your goals. Why is that? You have an amazing idea. Why haven't you accomplished this already? There are a few phrases you can use through a sales call to build confidence leading up to the objection. This is what we call pacing the objection. We know fear is the element, so we need to ask questions that allow our prospect to say and believe in themselves more, because 95% of the time at the end of the call, they lose all confidence, and hearing your prospect answer these questions in their own words gives you as a salesperson ammo to answer the objection. For example, Josh, I know money can be tight, but sometimes we need to remember why you're on this call. Earlier you were saying, if I don't do this now, I don't think I ever will. Take notes on sales calls when you ask these questions. A top objection handler uses prospects' words against them to hold them accountable. It's important to put their words back in their mouth. It also shows you listen, which is always a plus. Self-doubt is the leading indication of all objections, so every now and then, you need to put on your motivational speaking hat and tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. The objection framework. I'm going to share with you the framework I've been following for years to answer any objection. This framework will allow you not only close more sales but really get down to the real objection and to why people are afraid to take the next step, because although all objections lead to a level of self-doubt, we need to still isolate what is causing the self-doubt or fear in our prospects. This is a great way to logically answer any objection. Now keep in mind, this framework does not cure all sales problems. For example, if you have a bad introduction or demonstration of your product, you need to go back and tighten that stuff up for this stuff to work properly. When going into the objection, isolate the objection. Here's an example. Insert any objection in the blank space. I don't know if I can afford it. Clark, I hear you. For a second here, let's just pretend that, insert objection here, isn't an issue. Developing a follow-up pipeline. Now, as we already know, not everyone is going to say yes during a follow-up, but we can nurture the ones that need more time or just need to honestly put the finances together to get started. Here is how you develop a pipeline to really secure an extra $50,000 to $100,000 in revenue per year just for being organized. This is key. Make a list, create a separate document of all the people that should buy from you or really want to but just need some more time. Also mark the date you spoke with them and what their challenge was as to why they couldn't get started. What I would recommend is that you always ask if maybe in a few months from when you initially spoke to reach out and touch base. This is your hot follow-up list. Keep this for when appointments are slow to book on your calendar or you have a no-show. When trying to find some low-hanging fruit, you'll be surprised if you call the guy that should have bought it a year ago and ask him how things are going since. More than likely, he hasn't made progress and wishes he just took the next step with you. That's usually the case, and you can scoop up a sale. The biggest thing to focus on during these outreach calls is to not be needy. Simply call and let them know you are reaching out to see how things are coming along. If there is any support you can give them or tools you can share with them to help them make progress. Don't be afraid to help them instead of selling to them. Sometimes helping them ignites the conversation again and they want to talk numbers and take action. Last thing is, always be willing to take the lead. Let them know where they could be with support. Lead them as a consultant, not a salesperson. Help them realize they need your help. Last, if you need another follow-up, set some expectations for another date or even feel free to give your prospects some sort of homework to complete before your next conversation. This one is a personal favorite. Everyone loves a small challenge. If there is something small you can hold your prospects accountable to completing and then follow up with them in 30 days, chances are they complete it and like the accountability, which leads to them wanting your coaching offer, or they don't make any progress and realize they can't do it alone. It's a win-win for a quick sale. Increasing show rate and conversion for appointments. Your success in sales will be a direct result of how successful your systems in place are. As a salesperson and business owner, this is the easiest lever you should track within your process. In this chapter, we are going to discuss how a salesperson can increase their show rate with prospects that book an appointment on a calendar and help business owners understand tools and strategies to increase show rate for their team. The application system. The first thing you need to do to increase your show rate is to have an application system. Your online offer or coaching biz needs to have the appearance that not everyone gets the chance to work with you. Everyone likes to feel special, so the best thing you can do is allow your prospects to feel accepted to work with you. Remember, the more at-bats, the better chances of closing more sales, but on a deeper level, the more qualified your prospects are, the even better your close rate will be. There are many tools you can use to create the process of an application system for booking calls. Calendly and Schedule Once are two. These systems will be used to talk to you or your sales team. So the first step is having an opportunity for them to book a call on your calendar. Once they book a call, you need to have a list of questions to further qualify the prospects. Below I provided my list, but the question you need to ask yourself is, do the questions in the survey tell me things that can help me close the sale prior to speaking with the prospect or help me know if they are a good fit for my team to speak with them? Below is a list of questions I like to have answered when someone books on a rep's calendar. To confirm, you are filling this out because you want to speak with a strategist about working with, insert company name, correct? What has led you to seeking out help? Check all that apply. What's happening in your life right now that has you considering acting on your goals? Where are you in your entrepreneurial journey? How soon are you hoping to implement a process? What are your goals after your business is launched? What is your current occupation? How long have you been doing that line of work? If you were to find a way to achieve the goals you listed above, how much would you be willing and able to invest in getting the help necessary to get there? A. $0, not willing to invest in myself. B. $1,000 to $5,000. C. $5,000 to $10,000. D. $10,000 plus. The reason this application is so valuable to have is it allows not only you and your sales team to feel more prepared, but it also helps you make sure you are speaking to the best prospects. For example, if some answers question 7 saying they are unemployed and then to proceed to 9 saying they don't have money to invest, that probably isn't going to be the best use of a sales rep's time opposed to someone saying they are a doctor and are willing to invest $5,000 to $10,000 in themselves. So to increase your conversion rate, you need to make sure you and your sales team are always speaking with the best prospects by having a well-constructed application system. The rule of 48 to increase show rate, make sure that you only allow people to book appointments in a 48-hour period. Hence the rule of 48. It amazes me that I see calendars allowing people to book calls 3 weeks out to speak with them. You as a salesperson need to be speaking to people who have a sense of urgency. If you speak to someone who booked an appointment outside of a 2-day period, chances are they missed the call or they aren't really that serious about getting the support to get started. Remember, this is about quality, not quantity. Next, make sure your appointment gets either text message or email reminders before the call. I recommend a 24-hour reminder, a 1-hour reminder, and a 10-minute reminder. Some say this is overboard, but trust me, you'll see an uptick in show rate with reminders for appointments. Or in a worst-case scenario, people will cancel 24 hours in advance, giving you the chance to rebook the appointment. Call-aheads and texting, I count this part as extra credit. If you want to increase show rate as a salesperson, but also give yourself the opportunity to have as many at-bats as possible, listen up. With the application process in place, call-aheads also can be a game changer. If you have appointments that book on your calendar that are at risk to be a bad appointment, these are good ones to reach out to and further qualify, and it's even better if you have a SDR, Sales Development Rep, see Chapter 8, because you can have them call ahead and make sure the appointment is a good prospect by seeing if there is a sense of urgency and most importantly if the individual is financially qualified to afford your product. The last opportunity for a call ahead would be if you are stuck with a no-show appointment. This can be frustrating in regard to taking up your hour slot since no one can book once the appointment has started. Awesome. Well, I think the best step would be to get you set up on a call with someone on our team. As you can see, this can be a smooth transition, and if someone says they can't afford to invest that much, don't be afraid to tell them the exact payment plan of the offer because sometimes that can be doable for people wanting to invest in themselves on a tight budget. Finding the hottest leads, there is no doubt that the best leads tend to be in places most forget to look. Like mentioned above, you can sift through an endless amount of warm email leads or cold calling, but as an SDR, you should be asking yourself the question, how can I work smarter? Most offers today have a very similar marketing strategy. That strategy being, lead people to a webinar that is running 24/7 and capture names and phone numbers for SDRs to call on. Well, whenever your company runs a live webinar, the leads that were live are hot. The people you can engage with within 24 hours of the live video have your company on their mind. This is by far some of the best leads. The next best leads we recommend are already booked appointments on a sales rep's calendar that either canceled or no-showed. These leads most likely either got stage fright or need a little encouragement to get back on the calendar and show up, so follow the 4-goal format we just laid out. Or maybe they just had a schedule conflict and needed to reschedule but haven't had the time to do it yet. This is low-hanging fruit. You can't beat calling on a lead that scheduled their own appointment based on their own personal influence. These are amazing leads that I see brushed under the rug over and over again. Last, some of the hottest leads are people who have already been clients. What do I mean by this? I'm talking getting past clients to purchase a new product your company has already developed and the client didn't know existed, or maybe it's an upsell. Anyway, the rule of thumb here is that the easiest sales are always people who have purchased something from you before because they already trust you. Assuming you fulfilled on their first go-around, they will likely be raving fans and can't wait to purchase the next product you offer. Closing in person. As you begin to grow in your sales role, most of you will have the opportunity to sell your offer in person at some point in your career. Starting over the phone really teaches you the fundamentals of sales. The scripts are valuable to give you direction, but being on the phone is a little different from selling at a conference. If you have never been to a conference, I'm sure at some point in your life you have seen someone set up a booth that is selling something. This is a great opportunity to allow people to hear about your offer, and this also allows people to trust you more because you are in person selling them something. The best strategies in regard to selling an offer in person is to first, make sure that your target audience is in attendance at the location the booth is set up at. This should go without saying, but it will help your close rate tremendously. Setting up a booth is essential as it gives your team credibility with a fancy backdrop and a company name, and have some sort of flyers in place to pass out to people too. The biggest challenge you will have selling at a conference is getting people from just browsing to actually buying your product. Most people don't walk up to a booth and spend $5,000 to $10,000 without having a 30 to 45 minute conversation with someone, so you need to be strategic and schedule strategy sessions. Now there are 2 ways to do this. Build interest. Have a short conversation with someone who approaches your booth about their goals and their challenges and how it pertains to the offer you are selling. Think of this as a sales development activity. You are trying to see if they are a good fit and could use your help. Once you have determined this, the next step is to assumptively ask them to schedule an appointment with you to dive deeper into their challenges and see if you are able to help them. Have a schedule in place and of course schedule the appointment. You now have booked a sales call. This, however, isn't the most effective. It only allows you to book appointments based on people actually showing up to your booth on their own. So in order to get a rush of appointments, you need to utilize a tool called the secret event funnel. Creating the event lead funnel. Have the founder of the company schedule a speaking slot at the conference you are sponsoring with a company booth. The goal here is to provide training for your audience, and then at the end of speaking for about 30 to 40 minutes, the speaker applies a call to action. This allows the speaker to ask everyone in attendance that if they would like to overcome the challenges of marketing their business or talk more in depth, schedule a time to speak with their team members. This allows you to send a rush of people to fill up in-person appointments at your booth. What I have just shared with you is just the surface of how to really crush speaking at conferences and stages to not only make sales but to do so successfully. A great friend of mine wrote an entire book on this, so if you would like to learn more, please check out Taylor MacArthur's book, The Secret Event Funnel, the hidden formula to 10x your ROI at every event, conference, or trade show you sponsor or speak at. Last, to help you close the appointments you set, the best tool to utilize is to create a sense of urgency for your offer. The best tool I've seen is to have an event-only price. This allows people to sign up with you on the same weekend. For example, list your price at $7,000, but the event special is $5,000 for anyone who signs up that weekend. This will help push 75% of people over the edge instead of allowing them to procrastinate and never purchase your product. Remember, selling in person has its perks, but you need to first make sure your team is booking sales appointments and second create a sense of urgency for your clients to purchase either on the spot or during the weekend of the conference or event. Applying and finding high-ticket sales careers. Some of you may already have sale roles, so this chapter may not appeal, but most of you might be trying to find a better role or are looking to find a job, period. In this chapter, I'm going to lay out the steps to land and secure a job in high-ticket sales. The first step is to realize college is not required. The only thing most business owners are looking for is a high level of motivation, hunger, and someone coachable. If you can show and develop these skills, you'll go very far in the industry. But to find the opportunities, there are a few places you can look. Some of the best places to find careers are in various Facebook groups.